Well, everybody, thank you for joining PosiTalk 002. Today, we're going to talk about keeping quiet and how that's cool because not everybody needs to know your plans. And it's a lot easier when you can just do your thing, forge those bonds with the people that actually care about what you're doing. And you build your story and your legacy by committing yourself to being exceptional at what you do. So that's really what we're going to talk about today. I'll share a bit of my background and how I've been patient and kept quiet, and I've been able to build something I'm really proud of with Reserva. Yeah, it took almost 20 years of hard work, but that's life sometimes. And I just stayed committed to my story and committed to doing something that I really felt was like a calling in my life. But one thing I want to do with everybody right now is I want to go through sort of the rules of the foundation of legitimacy and the three simple rules, which are physical, mental health, service excellence, and organization, and kind of just like talk about how things have been going the last couple months. I'll start off and I'll say on the physical and mental health tip, I've been pretty good. Physically, I've been stepping my game up. I've been doing my basketball runs on Thursday nights. I've been running. If I want to be nice to myself, I'll give myself a B. If I want to be a harsh teacher, I'll give myself a C minus. Mentally, I've been good. December's like a super busy month for us when, every shop that uses us is super crazy busy. So it's stressful because we got to make sure things are working for them. And it went really smooth this year. It was a little stressful, but managed it. I've been good. Like I've been taking breaks. I had a wicked road trip with my son in December. First time we've done that. And that was really sick to be able to do that with him. I've been taking time, to leave work at like 5, pick up my dudes, get dinner done, put them to bed, take time with them. I've got my huge to-do list of like 10 billion things that I need to get done, but I'm okay with that because that's how life's always going to be. You're always going to have 10 million things you got to do. And I just kind of pick my battles day in, day out these days. When it comes to like the service game, I'm really, really stoked on what we've been doing lately. We've been busy, been keeping up to date on everyone in terms of like support stuff. We've been working on some really cool things that we're super proud of with Reserva. So that keeps me stoked. And then, on the organization, work in progress, we've got some new people joining us in the next few weeks. So we're getting organized for them. And, my job's going to be to really pass along the story we've been building the last, 5-6 years with Reserva and make sure that they get up to speed quick so that they can own what they do. That's going to be really important to me is like making sure the new people that join what we're doing with Reserva or Reserva can very quickly contribute and do stuff that they're proud of and makes us a better service as a whole. So that's kind of my update the last little while. It's been good, man, or everybody. I'm really happy with how things are progressing. I'm stressed sometimes, but, I just deal with it. Certainly like being able to play basketball, go running, that's helped deal with some of that stress. But, I could be doing more. But as we scale up, I feel like my stress in life is going to decrease with sort of each step we take forward as we grow the business a little bit. So since Gustavo is number 2, I'll hand it off to you, man. And I don't know, you can kind of tell me how things have been going the last little while.
Well, things have been going really great, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has, from what I've been doing since we last talked, as far as being healthy mentally and physically and also spiritually, have been great. Actually, my life has it's starting to shape up how I wanted to, because of some of the things that I've done
Mm-hmm.
previous to this. So yeah, as far as my health, I've since we last talked, I decided to take my health to the next level and continue to scale upwards instead of downwards. And I got more involved with being more physical as similar to yourself, I also started playing basketball back in. I actually joined a community league just to get
Oh,
back
wicked.
involved and just to make sure I don't overwork myself, because just like we talked about last time, we have to keep a balance in life just to be able to maintain and stay healthy, and also just stay driven, because so much work and stress can pile up on,
Yep.
and it could just deplete us in the long run. So we just need to keep a balance. But other than that, got through the holiday season. Everything's been perfect, and I just look forward to a lot of things that I got in store this year. I really feel that this year is gonna be a year of abundance for me, and I'm very excited.
Cool. It's good to hear. Kenny, you want to go next since you're next in line?
Sure. So since we last talked, I've taken it more seriously to focus on working out. I've been committing to going to the gym no less than 3 days a week, and it's been a challenge for me. I have one of the barbers working my shop. His name is Sean, but people know him as Shizzy Who. He's been the guy that I asked to train me, and I hate him in the gym. I actually hate him in the gym, but I understand the games that he's challenging me with. I have an objective for me to to tone up and to lose some additional body fat, and he's been helping me with that one. The biggest thing he's been pushing me on is that Stairmaster. Stairmaster is the devil. It is the devil. And getting through building my wind and building my cardio, using cardio to build my wind up, so it can be like a goal. I could be like the younger version of myself. That's been where I've been focusing on. That's what we've been training. Between that, we're doing some light weightlifting as well. But the biggest emphasis has been on my cardio, focus on cardio and core, and it's been good. It's been a good process for me. I see the weight change in me thus far.
Mm-hmm.
But then also the other things, I've always been pretty good with what I eat throughout the day, but I have been really bad with late night snacking. And when I'm in the gym focusing on how many calories I'm burning on specific machines, and then looking at a piece of cheesecake from the Cheesecake Factory and see how many calories it is, I'm like, man, I got to do 5 days in the gym doing 15 minutes on Stairmaster just to equal that. Like, nah, I'm gonna stay away from that.
Yeah.
Man. So I've been. It's me being more trained in one area has helped me become even more disciplined in other areas, and I've seen the benefits of it, because now I've been focusing on what I eat a little bit more. And what you guys already know is I'm big on smoothies, big on what I intake, and because I've been doing it a little bit more intensely, my energy levels has changed and been a little bit better since then. So, including a little bit more spirulina in my diet, moringa, keeping focusing on my turmeric, including the antioxidants from my berries, making sure I get my greens in, like all that type of stuff. I'm big on. I was always big on, but I'm becoming even better. And when it comes to how that incorporates to family life and business life, the more structure and discipline I've been in one area, it's helped me out in others. So it's just been a benefit. And then when it comes to working out, one of the things that I had been using as an excuse in the past of not having time to work out was that I didn't want to prioritize all the other things that I'm doing over family. So Shiz challenged me. He's like, you got to do that stuff with your family. I'm like, all right, cool. So now before we play video games, stuff like that with the kids, I'm like, all right, we got to do push-ups before we play.
That's good.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to make sure that the stuff that's being taught to me, that I'm also, as a leader of my home, teaching these things to bring the family involved and make sure that it's not just a me thing. It becomes about everybody. So outside of that, just balancing a lot. There's a lot of hats that I wear, a lot of responsibilities that I have when it comes to professionally. And the more discipline and handling I have of everything else, the much easier it becomes to balance out everything that I'm doing. Even today, like today was a full day for me. Just shot a video for the brand S Curl that I'm working with. And the content we did was super amazing. But I still had to make sure I was done in time to make sure that I was on this, and having in the midst of it the right foods to eat prior to, making sure that I had my almonds packed, making sure that I had my beet juice smoothie, and I tried some dried figs today. That was my little bit of sugar, but still still staying healthy, that because I want to focus on keeping my calories down low. So that's where I've been at with that. And got some other exciting things I want to share with Gustavo too, because his name came up this week. That's why I don't know if you want me to start it off, but the whole
sure,
idea
go. What the heck?
The whole idea of supporters versus followers, it came into play this week. Gustavo knows that I'm a supporter of his. B, the actions that proved it was earlier this week, there's a client of mine named Jimmy Butler. He was newly acquired by the 76ers from Minnesota. He has relationships with other basketball players around the country. So most recently, the 76ers were playing Oklahoma Thunder. I got the phone call that I need to cut Jimmy Butler in the morning. I said, cool, no problem. So I go to his house, cut his hair, and while there, he says, hey, I gave Paul George your phone number. He's supposed to call you for a haircut today. I said, okay, cool. But I said, he ain't called me yet. So I wasn't gonna have time to be able to do everything. So I try to pass him off to a few of the barbers in my shop because I knew that timing wasn't going to work out. But because I still had some other clients to take care of too before the game. Because whenever the Sixers have some primetime games, a large amount of the guys want to get cut because they know it's going to be a nationally televised game. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't going to be able to prioritize cutting Paul George because I had other clients that were of higher priority to me other than him. But things ended up working out anyway. Time-wise, it wasn't on my side, but then things worked out where I was able to cut hair at the arena. And therefore, I was able to move some of my clients around so that he still was able to be taken care of. Long story short, first question you always ask a client that you service for the first time is, who usually cuts your hair? And when I had the conversation with him, he ended up telling me who, and then he ended up telling me that he has a cousin who cuts hair who lives in Los Angeles. So as the conversation developed, I started giving him some insights about the show that we got coming up with the Exotics in LA. I told him, tell him to come out because I want to meet him, because I want to give him some insights on how to better language his conversation to the productions that he's going to be working with you when he's doing these Nike commercials and all that type of stuff. But he also told me about the barber that he uses in Oklahoma. And the barber he used in Oklahoma is not Gustavo. But my conversation was, hey, one of your teammates, TLC, used to be a former Sixer. As soon as he came to Oklahoma, I made sure I connected him with Gustavo. So Gustavo, his barber. So he's like, you know what? He did tell me that he's using another barber other than the person that we use. I said, I'm telling you, he's your guy. He says, cool. Because honestly, I'm not 100% sure if he's doing me right. So we had this whole conversation about his whole hair, and we started talking about different things. So the funny thing is, sidebar, Bleacher Report this week featured him and Raymond Felton talking about his hairline.
But, wow.
So here's what happened. I just had a conversation with him. I said, listen, when your cousin comes onto the photo shoots and he's talking to the production, I said, tell him that he needs to tell production that he needs to be there for last looks, and he's going to learn how to do your skincare. So he's going to be there doing your skincare and doing last looks, because the money he's going to make as somebody who's doing your grooming versus just doing a haircut is totally different. So he says, tell me more. So I said, listen, he's going to be there for last looks. So that means every time you change the outfit, whenever you change the outfit, you need somebody there to make sure that your hairline is straight. I said, because when you take a T-shirt or a hoodie off, your hair moves. It doesn't need to be recut, but you need somebody there just to make sure that your hairline is straight. Fast forward. He gets caught talking to Raymond Felton, and Raymond Felton asks him, he says, what's wrong with you? Because he keeps going like this. He says, what's wrong? You got a headache or something? He says, nah, just want to make sure my line is straight. So he repeated words that we just had in the conversation, and he got picked up and now went viral. Now, nobody knows the backstory up until now. You guys that are watching knew the backstory of why he said I was trying to keep my line straight. But just me having a conversation with him made him self-conscious about it. But then my other thing I said to him was, listen, there's somebody that I can have a conversation with in your city that's already cutting one of your teammates that needs to be your barber. And that's Gustavo. He says, I'm going to make sure I check him out when I get back home. So it's funny to see you on here, and we already had this conversation. I think that's a clear example of supporters over followers just because of this
Yeah.
mindset of when you
That
focus
is
on
a fact.
supporting people through referrals, and client referrals mean everything, because what happens is I only had the opportunity to cut his hair because he respects Jimmy Butler. So because Jimmy Butler comes across as credible to him, he views me now as credible because of Jimmy. But now that I gave him a tight haircut, and now that he values what I can do, and we had a great conversation, now he trusts me. So now that he trusts me, when I make a referral, now he's willing to follow through with that one, all because of the support that we have for one another. So that right there is a picture of, honestly, that's a snapshot of my whole career. My whole career has been opportunities for me to be blessed because I've been a blessing to other people throughout my life. And my relationships with other successful barbers has really been a part of why I've been successful. So I'm all on board of supporting those who support me, and also being there for mentors. I believe success, mentorship precedes success, and you got to have those relationships first. And I think a lot of people had the wrong focus, where they focus on spending a lot of time on building virtual relationships through social media, and they end up building followers who are just not even supporters. And I don't got time for that. I don't got time for that. Sometimes I want to keep quiet, so all the people who are not real supporters, they're just people who want to watch what's going on.
Yeah.
But people who I shake hands with, people I can actually call, and people I can actually engage with, those are the ones that mean the most to me, because you are truly a supporter. So I like to support those who support me. So that's the way it goes.
Sick.
And that's the method of success.
I got a good idea, just a thought that I've been thinking about a lot the last month. It's personal, not business, rather than it's not personal, it's business. Like that is the key, right? Making it personal and business the byproduct of that personal connection point, rather than being focused on the business, hard selling someone, or just trying to get money any way possible. And then you lose that personal connection with the people that will ultimately support you. Kenny, I'm going to ask you about your organization and how you've been feeling about that the last couple of months. Do you feel like you've been on top of your organization game, or like, how do you feel in general, just with how things have been going for you?
So just to be more clear, I have to be a little bit more transparent. Mm-hmm. There's multiple different layers to Kenny Duncan as far as what I'm involved in and what I'm doing that I need help with organizing. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to my barbershop organization, I have a staff. At this point, we have 11 chairs for all the barbers, including myself, and then we have 2 chairs with hairstylists in them. So with the staff that I have to be able to track things in order to be able to grow. So using Reserva to be able to track exactly what systems, what haircut services being the most often purchased and booked, who's doing more booking, the administrators or the actual or the clients, then the price points, how that affects what we should do. All that becomes a part of my conversation, even with my staff, when I'm talking to them about how we're running our business. When it comes down to what we should discount, what we should not discount, what we should language, what we should not language, what we need to advertise, what we don't need to advertise. I'm not the greatest of remembering things. So I got to have these things in front of me. So having resources available to help me gauge how to best lead my staff is highly important to me. So I'm in a place where I need to always have the analytics brought to me to be able to help gauge these things. Now, I have a role within my brand as well as others where I had to manage how things are done through social media. And I had to measure the analytics of, impressions, engagements, how many times people are liking stuff, how often stuff should be posted. And then I got to keep track of all these different things. So me keeping track of the numbers is what's essential for me to be empowered to make the right decisions. I would have to say this one. I'm doing good only because I rely on systems to be able to present this information for me. Because I cannot make great decisions without the right information. And then on top of that one, I don't have the capacity to remember these things on my own. Like it would take too much of my bandwidth to try to memorize, what the numbers are, when I can actually use software to help me track these numbers to help empower and make the better decisions for whether it be my staff or whether any organization that I'm associated with. So the numbers mean everything. Because one of my mentors told me this. He said, if you can track it, then you can grow it. So in those areas, I believe that I'm doing well because of that one. Now, here's the other thing. I had to spend more time on managing the intangibles, the things that can't necessarily be measured, just because a lot of times when issues come up, issues aren't just clear black and white. A lot of times they have layers and multiple different factors of why things exist the way they exist. So you have to do a lot of analyzing of everything. So I'm in a place now where I'm worried about my staff and the people that I'm around from a different perspective. I'm worried about, well, what causes them to be the way they are? What causes them to make decisions that they make? What causes them to think the way they think? Because that all plays into what we do next. Because I had to get involved. And the funny thing is, I'm very closely associated with the 76ers because at this point, there's about 11 players that I service. There's about 4 coaches that I service, as well as a few of the doctors. Now, or the team doctors. So I'm close enough. I get a chance to assess things. But the interesting thing is, what I visually, what I see when I'm in their spaces ends up being the same things that I see that I'm encountering in my own business. So I'm becoming more intrigued with how I can empower individuals with solutions, because I want to provide solutions for here, and I want to provide solutions for other people that's around me too, if at all possible. So one of the most relevant, most recent resources that I've been used to help me out with this one has been this book that I finished not too long ago called Super Bosses. And that particular book has studied a lot of leaders from different walks of life. But the one that stood out to me the most is the studying of Bill Walsh's lineage and how many coaches that he's empowered with the same philosophies to become Super Bowl winning coaches. And there's been a lot of them. I didn't know it was as many as it has been. And learning some of the successful things that they've done, the things that they've done subconsciously and consciously to empower other people and to make changes on the fly, make different movements to make sure that you empower everybody to be better than what they are, and put people in the best positions to highlight what their strengths are and camouflage what their weaknesses are. And so that's been more of my mentality, more of what my focus has been. And I need to have outside resources to help me out with those things so that I can be better with it. So that's the reason why I would say that I can't say that I have not experienced any challenges, but I've been better being able to navigate through these challenges based off of me having resources and having books available and mentors available to help me out and navigate through it all. Yeah,
I've actually taken a step back from just using analytics to judge how successful we're doing. I just felt like a lot of it became white noise after a while. So, I do check every week to see if we got more people coming into reserva.com. But you can generally just feel it. There's more support requests for new accounts or people just getting signed up. There's, people DMing us. So it's at that point, it's I know what we're doing is working, right? It's I post less on Instagram these days because I just don't have time. It's I've got, probably at least 1,000 portraits and interviews that we've done with people. I feel bad about not posting them on Instagram, but it's I don't have time. It's just physically it's impossible for me to spend 20 or 30 minutes transcribing an interview and then posting it, because at that point I'm just sacrificing my sleep or time with my family. And ultimately that makes me not able to perform as well as I should be when it's, supporting people with other more important things. I will get back to posting the interviews and portraits on Instagram, but at this point it's not a priority for me because it doesn't do much, because I see it more people are interested in what we're doing now than ever before. And I'm doing less, putting myself out there less in terms of just putting out consistent content or ideas like that. I'm just kind of bringing things back and then working on people that I have relationships with, because I find most of the people that end up working with us are people that talk to somebody who's an advocate for us, a friend or someone we're closely connected to that's out there. And like you said, you know, it's all based on you executing and doing a good job, Kenny. Same deal here. It's like we help people, we support them, we help them get set up, and that converts them from somebody who's just testing us out to a client. And, you know, with a bit of time and a bit more interaction, they become an advocate for us because they see that this is not a business. Business is the byproduct. This is a statement. Like, that's the most important thing for me, is that I don't want to reduce myself to having to have like a large body of salespeople, like DMing people, going out of their way to be like, hey dude, you want to use Reserva? I'll give you the first 6 months, 50% off. If I have to go that route, I'm just going to be very disappointed in myself, because there's way more creative ways to tell your story and put yourself out there as something of interest for people to test out. And then if you're honest and you back that up with a consistent experience on what they see or what they hear about, then it's almost 100% guarantee that you're going to convert them into a client that's going to support you and eventually down the road become an advocate for you, because they see what you're all about and that you're very similar to the values that they have, which is doing a good job, being respectful, and advancing things in terms of providing a great service and building community and camaraderie with people. So yeah, that's awesome, man. That's, you know, I was very analytical about stuff, but now I've just kind of let it go. I'm at that point now where it's like, it became white noise to me. And it's like, as long as things are advancing in a positive direction, it's like, I'm not going to spend my time there, because it's not realistically like spending 4 or 5 hours digesting all of these analytical numbers is really not going to help me at this point in time. What's going to be a better use of my time is spending an hour doing a PosiTalk with people, or supporting like our clients for 4 or 5 hours, or going, you know, this is something I got to do. We got all this like great stuff we printed and some art we've put out. I got to send it out to people, you know, and like, that's what I'm going to do next week, is like do a whole bunch of mail outs and just say thanks. Go out of my way to be like, hey, thank you for supporting us and for helping us build this story, and realizing that this is not just a business, this is a statement, and this is like our life's work. And that's super important for me to be spending more time doing that going forward. I'll hand it off to Ray now. Ray, do you want to just tell us how, you know, sort of things have been going on the physical, mental tip, also when it comes to like service execution in your organization?
Yeah. So the last time we talked, I've traveled. I've been to a few places. I took a Kenny Duncan class out in Philadelphia.
Sick.
I've been in Chicago and took some more classes. And just recently, 2 days ago, I was in Gary, Indiana, taking another class. So I've just been spending a lot of my time just trying to master my craft and learn as much as I can, because this summer, I plan on moving back home to be around my kids more, because I'm about 3 hours away from them. And sometimes, like, my transportation isn't reliable. So I feel like if I'm closer to them, I don't have to worry about that. And I want to move back home to, you know, just go off on my own. I plan on opening up my own suite, not a barbershop, just a suite, just a one-man suite, and start building my brand from home, because I feel like I still have a lot of support at home that will help me get out there and put my brand out there. And I've been exercising. I really enjoy boxing. So I took up some boxing training classes, and I do that 3 days a week. And then I go to Planet Fitness 2 days a week. And I've really been trying to watch what I eat. I try to cut out the grease and the fried foods and the sugar and salts, but the sugar and sauce is really hard. The sugar and salt is really hard. I love candy, and I love my food seasoned. So, you know, I've been working on that. That's still a struggle, but my main focus is everything I'm doing now, just me traveling to Philadelphia, Chicago, Gary, Indiana, and I have more places to go by the summertime. But I'm doing all of this so I can prepare myself as much as possible to whenever I do open up my suite or my shop. I just want to be prepared as much as possible. That's why I went out to Philadelphia. I went out to Philadelphia for one thing, and that was to see Kenny Duncan, because like I really admire what he does. and how he carries himself, like on stage, or how he cuts his athletes, or just how he carries himself as a man, you know. So I just respect him. So I just wanted to go out there and see him and just talk to him in person, and just hopefully he may remember me in the future or something like that. But I'm just basically just preparing for my next move, which is going to be this summer, to open up my suite and get closer to my kids. Oh, and I've been my son has shown interest in cutting hair. So over the Christmas break, he came to see me. So I let him cut my hair. I didn't get my hair cut, and I let him cut my hair, and he didn't do a bad job. So I think he may be good at it if he practiced. So I want to help him learn how to cut hair, because now he's like 15. So now he's starting to recognize who he is, what he wants to be. And I know he wants to make money, but I don't want him just to make money any type of way. I want him to be happy and make money. I want him to do what he wants to do and make money, not have to go to the job and not like his job to make money. I want him to enjoy what he's doing and make money at the same time. And then I have a 12-year-old daughter. I'm trying to teach her the same thing. She likes doing hair herself. So I've learned different services. So instead of like trying to teach her how to cut hair, I'm going to teach her different services like facials, and maybe get her into doing nails and color or makeup or something like that, because I see her interest in that from her just paying attention to me. Even though I don't do those things, I do like facials and things like that, but not like nails and stuff like that. But if I can show her what I know, maybe she can learn that and then learn some stuff on her own, and then maybe she could get good at it and make money from it. So that's what I've been doing since the last time we talked. And I just been focused on giving the best service, like more than a cut. For my clients that I already have here in Champaign, I've really been focusing on not just wanting to cut their hair, but give them an experience and a service, because that's ultimately what I want to be remembered as, not just someone who cuts hair. I want to be remembered as someone who goes out of his way, always give more than expected. So I've really been working on that also.
Yeah. No, you'll become a part of people's conversations, right? That's when you become your advocate. I was going to say, for seasoning, I've recently discovered in the last year, pepper. Like it is awesome. Like you don't need the salt, just pepper, like rice or whatever. It's sick. Also paprika, super good. That way you can avoid the salt and, get a little bit of flavor, but not feel guilty about it. That's a good,
My guilty pleasure is cayenne pepper now.
Yeah.
Cayenne pepper. For whatever reason, I like spicy things.
Yeah.
So I'm adding it to everything.
But that's okay for you, right? Though cayenne pepper.
No, it is. But I'm just saying, like, that's the thing that I'm going to now. But instead of going for everything sweet, me going spicy, I'm going the other way.
Put some pepper, like cayenne pepper on your fruits and stuff.
Listen, I'm talking on everything. I've been putting cayenne pepper in my water, in my tea, in my vegetables, like everything. Seriously, everything. Well, and here's the other benefit for those of you that talked about working out. Cayenne pepper opens up your blood vessels, and it helps you breathe better. So one thing that happens is when it opens up your arteries and helps you breathe, helps with blood flow. It also will give you additional stamina too. So if you need some additional help getting through your workouts, making sure that cayenne pepper is a part of your diet will help you out with stamina.
Okay.
Okay, I'll try that when I'm running. So when I feel like I'm dying because I'm not where I need to be right now, just get a little cayenne pepper candy, pop it in my mouth, and I'm good.
Listen, I'm telling you, like, if you do it not necessarily that quickly, because I think if it's a part of your system, like for instance, if you're going to go running, you're going to go running, and you have a small bottle of water before you start. In that small bottle of water before you start, adding a pinch of cayenne pepper and down in that before you start is going to open up your blood vessels so that you'll have extra energy. So that your regular water you're going to drink throughout your running, so that you can stay hydrated. But before you start having having a little bit of water or even a smoothie with cayenne pepper in it will get you a decent jump start.
Yeah.
Almost like a pre-workout.
When I was doing like a few years ago, when I was in really like elite shape, when I came to my running and working out, I'd usually down a black coffee before I started something. Now it's like awesome. That was a great, like if I worked out early in the morning, such a great way to like get through that workout or go for a long run. I really found it was helpful. But maybe black coffee with cayenne pepper. That's the ticket right there.
Nice.
I find that eating a third of a cup of strawberries also helps.
Yeah, like the any kind of sugar intake will help. Like I remember when I was running like super long distances, I'd actually eat like a bunch of dark chocolate before I went, and like that would help me.
Dark chocolate is a good source of caffeine.
Yeah, exactly. And just like that energy, like to keep you going. Like I don't really need to eat anything. Like I'm good at like with my water and stuff. Like I can drink a bit when I'm running, but I can hold it and I'm good, and I don't need to drink something until I'm done. But I always found like if I ate a bit of dark chocolate before I went, like half a bar, that was like awesome, because you just be like, okay, you get through the first few K and then you're like, I'm cruising now, I'm good. Because like the first few K were always the hardest, or miles in your case, since you guys are all in the States. Okay, let's get to the topic today, which is like keeping quiet. It's something I've done pretty much my whole professional career, is just worked on my story. And, you know, before we were doing Reserva, I think I touched on this last time, we were doing a lot of web development for people. And a lot of times it really went nowhere, right? It was just like something we would do a killer job on our end. And then I'd find that, you know, the audience that we were working with didn't really appreciate what we do. So, you know, when the time came where like I was able to start growing Reserva, you know, we put our name out there a bit. Like we went to shows, we've done the portraits, we've done the interviews, we posted them on Instagram, but I've never been one to like, you know, kind of put out this like manifesto that, hey, I'm doing this year. We're going to like take over this game. We're going to do that. I've just found it like totally unnecessary. Sometimes like I feel like it's been detrimental in terms of like not putting our voice out there enough, where like people don't realize that we are different from a lot of things that exist out there. You know, we have a different approach. This is really not like a business for us. Like I've said a few times, it is the statement. And I'm just wondering or curious, like how you guys feel. Like, do you ever feel that you need to put your name out there more? You need to like sort of own like your growth strategy, or own like, you know, goals that you need to achieve. I'm curious to hear like what you guys feel on that front. Like if it's something that you worry about, or you just are happy to let things kind of roll and see where things end up, you know, a month or two down the road.
Don't everybody just yell it at one time, you know?
Yeah, no, I had it on mute for Ray, because like I don't know if you're like moving your headphones or something, Ray, but I hear like a clicking sound with you every once in a while. I just unmuted you while I was talking there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm just holding my phone in my hand.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. There's something coming from your account, because I could see your microphone in Zoom going on and off. So I was just muting it for a second, but I don't know. Like Kenny, like you know, you kind of battle that more than anybody here, right? Because you do have a big, you know, a large following. Do you feel like stress to announce like what you're doing, or are you just like happy to like keep working and behind the scenes to build what you're working on and make things happen?
The former me would have been stressed, but because I've been coached through my whole process, I'm not. One guy that stood out to me the most is Curtis Smith. Curtis Smith, he's been my mentor in reference to me being known as a celebrity barber a lot. I was already known as being one of the better educators. So popularity for me grew socially because of my relationship with Andis and just my personality, building good relationships with people, period. But what I found out was that in order for me to tie myself to successful opportunities as a barber, I couldn't focus on being popular at the same time. And I know it's hard to see and understand, but the advice that I got from Curtis was, he said, Ken, if you want to be successful in this space, you can't look to be popular. So the first thing he told me was, he said, when you go into somebody's personal space, you don't want to be the person who's taking pictures in somebody's home. And the reason why is because you don't want to come across like you're the next outlet for TMZ. You don't want to come across as if you're being newsy. You want to get into information you shouldn't get into and become the first person to share those things. So it was interesting because he's somebody who I've seen as being successful in keeping a client. There are some people who have customers, people who just walk into their barbershop, but there's other people who have clients who are people that they've built relationships with and they only want to come to them. And what I seen from Kurt was that he had, both Puff and Usher and several other clients for a long time, for over 17 years, almost 20 years. And then that becomes something that adds credibility to him and becomes admirable. And I asked him, how does he do it, and what does he do? Now, let me backtrack. Before I asked him for information on how to help me, I came to him and asking him, how can I help him? And that's the reason why I'm associated with the Hair Battle Tour the way I am, because he said he wants help growing the tour from the beginning. And I told him, I'm going to help you with that one. So I put my effort and energy into making sure that the tour has been successful because of me wanting to help him first. Then once I became credible in helping him in that area, then I asked him, hey, how can I grow in this space? And the first thing he told me was, you don't want to focus on trying to be popular. You don't want to share everything. You don't want to put everything out there. The next thing is, you also want to make sure you stretch yourself to learn more. I said, what is it you want me to learn? He said, learn skincare, because skincare and male makeup is one of the things that open up doors for me. He says, a lot of times when I'm introduced to different people is because I'm being introduced to people as a groomer, not just as a barber. So I said, okay. So I went in the lab, learned a few things, and then, that's what cultivated me to most recently change my social media name from Clipper EDU to K Duncan Grooming, is because a lot of people don't know that grooming into productions is known as the person who's doing skincare, not the people who's actually doing a haircut. They'll consider a barber to be hired for one price and a groomer will be hired for a different price. So because my mentor told me these things and shared with these process, I started to think through things differently. So there's several times when I got a chance to work with a client for the first time that I did not share it with the world. I didn't take a picture. They did something popular. I didn't reshare that picture, and I kept quiet about it. And the funny thing is, because of me keeping quiet about those things, it caused me to build credibility in the eyes of other people. I think, Ray, is that your phone that's making some noise?
Yeah, somebody just called me. I declined it.
Yeah, if you can mute your phone for a second, that'd be good.
Okay.
No, so the whole idea was that he told me that I can't desire to be popular and be successful at the same time in that space. So what happened for me was this one particular client of mine, when I got a chance to service him, he went and did something that was legendary, and he became viral from that night. So my battle was, do I tell everybody that I cut his hair for this particular moment, and this would be the first time I tell the world that I cut his hair, or do I keep quiet? And I decided to keep quiet per the advice of my mentor, because he said, if you want to be successful, you can't look to be popular. So I asked myself, if I tell the world that I did this, what am I getting from it? I'm just causing other people to look at me as like, it'll be one of those, hey, look at me, I did this type of thing. And that's not the narrative that I wanted. Because I said, if I want to share content, I want to share content that inspires people. I don't know if this inspires people. I think this might come across as bragging, so I don't want to do it. And because I didn't share, 1 week later, I got a phone call. And at this point, I wasn't known to be or agreed upon to be this person's personal barber. But a week later, I got a phone call from Adidas, and they're like, hey, we heard you're such and such personal barber. I'm like, okay, what Kurt said was right. The very thing that I wanted, I ended up getting, and I didn't have to tell the world what it is that I was doing. So I think that one of the things I was communicating without saying anything, my silence communicated a lot. My silence said to my client, was that I'm not looking to be a fan, and I'm not looking to tell everybody what's going on in your life. So I immediately became trusted to be somebody that can be around and hear stuff and witness stuff that the world shouldn't know and see. And I'm not going to be the one that they hear it from. So even now, when I share stuff, I only share stuff that was already made public by other outlets first, because I don't want to be known as the first person to release anything. I don't want to be known as a person who was putting information out there. I don't want to be a source of information for anybody connected to me or that I'm connected to. So I only share what was already put out there. And to add to the point or drive home that point even more, I believe that earning credibility in the space of willing to be quiet adds additional value to me or anybody else as a service provider, because you become that more trusted. Yeah, and that right there is that's been a big part of what barbers have always been, because we all are counselors, and people come to us to talk to us about a lot, and we don't want to be known as people that's sharing the secrets that we're hearing from other people. That's not what we should be known for. So kudos to Kurt and showing me those things to make it easier for me to understand the process. And I hope younger barbers can understand how that becomes more beneficial, because previously I was taught that you do something, you work with a celebrity or you work with this person, you go tell the world, because you were associated with this person is going to cause you to make more money, and you're going to be charged more for haircuts, and everybody else is going to, like, that stuff is hogwash. It's not true. It actually does the opposite. It actually does the opposite. The more you end up telling, the less people value what you're doing, and the more you end up sharing, the less people will value what you're doing. So me personally, I'm comfortable. I want to make it known for people out here. Right now, at this point, I'm losing followers on Instagram. And the reason why is because I don't post as much content. But the funny thing is, most recently I looked at the analytics of my last 3 years. Here's a funny thing. I'm losing followers. I'm posting less, but the amount of impressions that I've had for the past 3 years have all increased over the past 3 years, because the content I'm posting per post is being more engaged with, but it's less people following me, but I'm having higher engagements. And the only reason why I can believe that one is there are specific posts that I have shared that have hit home with people more than others. So staying quiet so I can better refine and create content that I do love and want to share, and being more intentional. I think that in itself is it creates additional value behind what you do share, because you're not talking a lot.
I feel exactly the same way. As we've grown and more people have connected with us, I feel less of a need to retell our story to the general population. I focus more on those actual bonds we have with people. That's the most important thing. Like when we go to a show and I see people that are not my friend, and I only know them because they use Reserva, and they tell me to my face, like, our software has changed their life or changed their business. I'm like, whoa, like that is blowing my mind, because this is all I've ever wanted to do with myself, is connect with people and help people be better at what they do. So I totally hear you, man. Like, I think the connection point is, like, the more that you grow and the better that things are going, the less need you feel to keep put that story out there to people that don't really have any type of real connection with you, other than they might like your photo, or they might DM you and be like, hey dude, sick photo. And you're just like, well, that comment means nothing to me. And if you really want to support me, let's have a conversation in real life and work together and make things happen. I don't know, like Gustavo, you're popping up on my screen. So like, what's your sort of feeling on feeling the need to keep quiet versus, like, that having that pressure that, you may need to be putting out your story to people that might not know who you are, in the hope that these people will support you in some way?
Similar to with Kenny, I took a page from his book, and I definitely agree with what he just preached about, because for a lot of the reasons why that he shared, I also feel that you don't need to have you need to focus on what's gonna make you better, what's gonna help you grow, what's gonna help your story grow. You don't necessarily have to focus on having a large following or growing your social media network. At the end of the day, you want to network with the people that connect with you and that are gonna help you grow you yourself and your career to elevate you to the next level. And one of the concepts that I share, that I share with a lot of people now is like, if your following doesn't reflect your bank account, what are those likes? What are those likes for? I mean, they're not they're relevant in a sense, but not really, because if they're not helping you grow or become better and grow your career, then what are you doing it for?
Yeah, I feel like for the most part, they're meaningless, right? Because it's the very least someone could do is like double tap their screen.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like yes, Instagram is a platform and social media is a platform that used correctly is very powerful and can empower you as an individual and help grow your career and also build your brand. I do firmly believe that. But if you're not growing your career and your bank account doesn't reflect what your numbers are and your likes and this and that and your followers, then I don't see a point in it, honestly.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, someone double tapping the screen, liking your picture, if it's not going to make a connection, a genuine connection to help you grow, then it's irrelevant, honestly.
I completely agree. I played around with Facebook years ago. The only reason I ever got a Facebook account is to do work for people, because we had to manage pages, like company pages for people. And I remember people, when they found out, like people from high school and back in the day, they'd connect with you and they'd be like, "Hey dude, how's it going?" And then I'd be like, "Oh, this is kind of interesting." So I, kind of tell my story, be like, "This is what's going on. How are things with you?" And then sometimes, like most of the time, you wouldn't even get a response. You'd just be like, "Oh, okay." So like this person went out of the way to reconnect with me. And then I kind of gave them a nice little update, but then the conversation stops at that point. And then that's when I realized, like, what is the point? Yeah, what is the point in this? And then I think ever since then, it's like, I don't even think I've posted on my Facebook in like, I might have made 2 posts on my Facebook account my entire life. And I've just never felt the need to use it as a tool to connect with people. Like, yeah, sometimes I'll get those emails from Facebook or like, "Hey, you're invited to, your friend's kid's 2nd birthday or whatever." I'm like, "Oh man, do I have to log in?" Or usually I'll text them. I'll be like, "Hey man, I can make it or I can't make it." But like, I don't really feel the need to connect with people on that vague level. Like for me, what's important is like having these tight bonds. Like, yeah, I'm in a different position than a lot of people, but I guess similar to a lot of barbers where like you have like 200 or 300 people that are regularly coming through your life and that you're engaging with. We've got way more, like we have a lot more clients than that, but I could probably say like, well, if I think about it, there's probably like 300 or 400 people that I am in pretty regular contact with, either through text or people that DM our Reserva account or people that I talk to on support tickets for Reserva, because I do a lot of that day in, day out.
Go ahead. How many of them can you say have taken you to a basketball game?
Only you from the Reserva side of things. But for offshoot, when we did that, I have gone to a few basketball games in my day for work. But okay. You are the first Reserva person to take me to a b-ball game. Came out of retirement, man. I kid you, like the last time I went to a Raptors game must have been like, oh no, it was like 3 years ago. I went to the season opener against Cleveland. So It wasn't that long. But yes, thank you for that. That was a great night, actually. It was good fun. Okay. So, Mr. Ray, you there?
Yes.
So let's hear your story. I mean, you're in a different spot, I guess, as well, because you know, you want to get the word out that you're moving 3 hours away from where you live now, and you're going to be undertaking a new opportunity in terms of like either opening a studio or a shop. Like, what are your feelings on either, you know, kind of like going on post patrol where you just like post all about stuff, or are you completely content or happy to just keep working on your story, you know, get those people who are sitting in your chair to become your advocates, tell their friends, and let the story evolve in a more organic and truthful manner?
Yeah, I used to use my Instagram to just post a lot of things that had nothing to do with work, what I did for a living.
Yeah.
So I got to talk to someone that's like, you know, you should just delete everything that has nothing to do with what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So I deleted a lot of that stuff, but I don't use my social media as much because it doesn't really bring me money. And I started to find myself comparing myself to other people or comparing myself to the things they're doing. And I'm like, well, why isn't it working out for me like it is for them? Not really knowing their story. You know what I'm saying? So I had to kind of pull back from it, and I haven't really got back to it because I know that like people look at my Instagram and they're like, oh, okay, he's this, he's that. And then they have they form their own opinion, which is fine, you know, because it's public. But at the same time, like, that's not the truth. That's not the facts. So like if you went to like my Instagram, I only have like 300, 400 followers. So like someone coming across my Instagram like, oh, well, he's not even relevant, or he's not this, he's not that. But the truth is, in the town that I'm in, I'm one of the most sought out barbers in my town. I'm one of the most busiest barbers in my town. I'm not going to say I'm the best because I don't really know who is the best. But I know that like I'm one of the busiest in my town. But if you went to my IG, you wouldn't know that. And I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that because I've come to find out that like Instagram is not reality. You know, so I just want to focus on things that really make sense and things that can help me instead of just putting stuff up to get likes or putting stuff up to get certain people to follow me. Because a lot of these people, they never spend a dollar with me. And I don't know these people. So, like, it's really meaningless for just a random person to like my picture if I'm never even going to come in contact with them. So I would rather just like go to Philadelphia and meet Kenny Duncan myself, because I feel like that would work out more than him liking a picture and not even knowing me or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to like build relationships physically instead of like just having something on social media or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's really important. And you know, it must be awesome when you when you get to this is a represent, and I think that the most being legit at every level, right? Being legitimate in terms of like who you are, being truthful about that you're putting all your time and effort into providing a great service for people, and growing your story by turning customers who walk into the door, turning them into a client, and then keep working on that person to eventually turn them into an advocate for you, right? That person's going to go out of their way to tell their friends, hey, Ray is an amazing guy. You should go support him with what he's doing. He'll give you a great guy. You'll have a great conversation. His spot looks cool. He's just a great guy. Like, you know, he is an important part of our community. So let's support that. Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do. Just trying to make real relationships instead of social media relationships.
Don't say trying. Say I'm committed to that.
I'm definitely committed to that.
There you go. And don't say definitely either, because like anytime someone says definitely to me, they never follow through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. It speaks volumes that you're well known in your community, but and it wasn't based off of what was done on social media. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I wouldn't discredit social media as if it doesn't add value, because I think that I think the premise that we're preaching is that the nuts and bolts of what people experience in real life is more important than what you put out there in virtual life. But virtual life can help spread the story about what you're doing in real life.
Okay.
So some people put a higher emphasis on the virtual stuff and won't have the real stuff. So we're saying it's highly important for you to focus on growing, keeping with increasing your story, and you've been doing that. But I think that the message is you don't want to be in a situation where you forget that social media can help perpetuate that story. And here's a part of what I did with that one. During the MySpace times, I'm telling my age with this one. during the MySpace times, what I did was I would do a dope haircut on a client. I would take an amazing picture of that client with a white backdrop so that they would have a professional looking picture, even though I wasn't a professional. And then I would give them that picture and tell them, this is something for you to share on your social media. But I will give you this picture for free. You're paying for the haircut, but I'll give you the picture for free if at the bottom of it you share with people who did the work. So what happens is the amount of people who knew who I was and what I was doing increased because I associated myself by solving the problem. I solved the problem for the people that were following me by me making sure that they had something of high quality to share with their clients or share with their following as a portrait. But then in exchange, I told them to share with the world who did your haircut in this picture. And in turn, those people who I did that for were my biggest advocates. I was empowering them to become my advocates, and it worked for me. So I said it to say this one. Because you are going back home and you have my supporters there, I would look to see how you can engage the supporters you have there to become your biggest advocates so that you'll have people, whether it be on social media or real life, telling people about you and your story, because their credibility that they've earned with their followers and their friends and their family is when it ends up translating to you when they give you that stamp of approval. Yeah. I think that process is what continues to work. And that's what we're preaching now, is just the supporters over followers means everything. Because if you already have supporters, those are the people who are going to help, make sure that you're surviving, and make sure they care about your story and they care about you. They're not just buying a haircut or investing into the service that you're selling. They've invested into you, and they'll continue to do so based off of their relationship they have with you.
Yeah, I will say with social media, it's about balance, like everything in life, right? And a lot of people think, oh, if I start posting all these photos and I start posting our culture and our community or whatever, that we're gonna get huge and people are gonna care. But if you're not doing other things before that, like being objective with like, is our service game as good as it can possibly be? And it will never be as good as it possibly be, because it's going to get better every year. But there are so many other things you could be doing before you go on that blitz to start posting and telling the world about what you're all about, right? I feel like people will try to use social media in some cases as a way to make up for the fact they're not busy. They'll be like, hey, come in and get a great haircut. It's like, well, there's probably other reasons why, like, you're not at that point yet where you're fully booked, right? It's like either just starting out, in some cases you might not actually be good at what you do, right? It's like you have to be really objective and brutally honest with yourself that, hey, this is like, I'm doing everything possible I can to be as good as I can be. And now that I have a bit more time, either because like I don't have to go out and do stuff for free for people anymore to build my story, I've got established clientele. Now I can spend a bit more time spreading that story with the rest of the world, and also something too you got to think about is like, what is the point, right? It's like, do I really need to be posting this on Instagram? Like, could I be spending these 10 minutes with my kids? Or could I be spending these 10 minutes, like, I don't know, doing a quick workout or going for a walk or just like taking a breather or even just reflecting on life, because like, that's something I battle with is like, I never feel like I have enough time for reflection and sort of like that internal like conversation you can have with yourself about how life is going and where things are going. So yeah, it is an interesting thought, like to just think about like, yeah, it does play an important role. Like I will admit, like, you know, because of Instagram, we were able to establish ourselves and get the word out about what we're all about. But, you know, I've also taken a big step back from it and just being like, at this point in my life, I'm just like, well, if I got time, I'll post something, but I usually don't have the time because I'm either talking to someone on the phone who's interested in Reserva, supporting them on a trouble ticket, working with the guys here on new ideas and new features, you know, going to a show or spending time with, you know, I guess the most important thing should be, or I know the most important thing is like doing all this stuff so I can spend more time with my friends and family. That's the most important thing. So yeah, it is an interesting thought though. Like, you know, when you see other people who might have huge followings, or you see, you know, companies or entities that have built this like amazing following behind what they do, you got to ask yourself, like, does it really matter? Because if it's not creating, like adding value or making you a better person, then what's the point in doing it? Oh, I hear, so I don't know, Ray, like when is your, like, when are you planning on moving out? Like if you do move back to your hometown?
We have a date, and it's gonna be May, because
May.
she's in school right now for nursing,
Cool.
and I'm just doing barbering right now. So
Yeah.
I'm just waiting on her. But when she's done with this semester, which will be in May, we're gonna make that move in May, and hopefully by August, when school starts back, I'll have the studio up and running by
Sick, man.
August.
Well, it's a lot of things when you start out, not many people are going to care, right? But stay true to your story. Keep providing that great service, and slowly but surely, that chair will be full. Like, you know, every hour that you're open.
Yeah, I hope so, and I think it will, but I know it's going to be a lot of work, and I'm sure I'll probably make some mistakes, but I already got my mind made up. Like, this is what I want to do. This is the direction I want to go.
Mm-hmm. Sick.
First stepping stone.
Yeah, Gustavo, what's your setup right now? You have your own studio?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Actually, both with the salon, but I have my own setup as a studio.
Okay.
But I'm inside of a salon. So
I
we're
see.
kind of like we're a combination, but there's a salon side of things, and then there's a studio, which is I'm in control of my own thing, and I run my own studio.
That's cool. And then, you know, like, what do you do outside, like to get your story out? Like, what's your primary way you build your story? Are you mostly just letting people come to you through word of mouth, or is there anything you're actively doing?
There's a lot of things that I actually do. I get out here, and I just meet people, genuine, like make a genuine connection. Besides social media, like go out and shake hands. One of the things that I picked up from Kenny is the 500 card challenge or flyer challenge, which is pass out 500 cards, but identify the people that you think need your service. Don't just target the people that don't need your service and think that just because you're passing them a card or making a connection, that is the type of people that you want. You actually want to target the people that you want to service and that you feel like are going to need your service and appreciate your service. You don't want someone in your chair that's not going to value you. You want someone that's actually going to value you and that's going to respect what you do and respect what you stand for and appreciate who you are as a person. So that's one of the things. I also like to just connect with people and network with barbers, because you never know where you'll need somebody. You never know when just from a genuine connection, you don't never know what's going to happen. And that's like what we're talking about, supporters over followers. And it goes back to what I said. You don't necessarily have to have a large following to be successful. You don't.
Not at all.
As long as you're happy at what you're doing and you're getting to where you want to and you're meeting your goals, then you're successful. And if you're in the space of where you want to be, then you have success.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the concept that I live by day to day. There's a lot of things that I'm actually doing myself, and I'm doing what works for me because I want to be happy with what I'm doing. I don't want to be forced into something that I don't want to do, or I don't want to do something that I'm not happy with doing. So I know what I want. I know it is who I know myself, and I know who it is that I want to become. So therefore I'm taking the right steps to become who I want to be, and
Yeah.
just moving forward each and every single day. Um, my next challenge is I'm gonna take you up, Mr. Kenny, Duncan. I scratched my head as to why I haven't done this, but there's a lot of reasons why, because I've been analyzing myself and I've been building my skill side and my perception side. Now it's time to put my effective management side into the equation, and that's why I feel that this year is going to be a big year for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also going to become an educator as well. I'm taking the right steps in that direction. So I'm just looking forward to what's going to happen within this year. And that's another reason why I do a studio thing, because I don't want to handle the responsibilities of having a shop just yet. It is in the plan,
Mm-hmm.
but I move with the purpose, and I have a timeline set for myself because I know what I want to do.
Yeah.
So that's just a little bit of me so far.
That's a good point you raised there, is just being really careful with the decisions you make. I know they're gutsy decisions, but also reflecting on that decision you're making and saying, well, if I make the leap, if you own a barbershop and you make the leap to become an educator, it's like, am I going to compromise what we're doing at the barbershop because I'm not there to uphold that experience, right? You might not be ready for that, or by doing that you might end up diluting that experience that you create for people, in terms of establishing this high quality expectation that everybody who comes through the door and sits in a chair has the exact same high quality service. Of course, there's some people are going to be like, oh, that wasn't as great as people said, but the vast majority of people who sit in there will be like, this is an awesome place, I'm going to keep supporting it. So I'll give you, I was thinking of my dad actually when you were talking about just how trivial some things can be in terms of people's reputations. And my dad is a master cabinet maker. He did 10 years in the guild. He got his accreditation as a master cabinet maker. So he's been doing this for 50 years now. And the company he works for, they do high-end custom home builds and renovations for people. And by large and far, when the people call that company and they want renovations done or they want stuff changed, they ask for my dad. They ask for Mike. They're like, we want Mike. There's other cabinet makers there and there's other people that work there, but the person they ask for is my dad, because he's really damn good at what he does and he takes care of people. And that's what you need. And he has no Instagram account. He doesn't have Facebook. He has nothing, right? He's just absolutely committed to being as good as he can possibly be, which is either a project manager or the person in charge of building the stuff for the clients. And because he does such an amazing job, he's the guy that people ask for by name, and that's what you want. Is you want people who will seek you out to support you. And I don't think you can really do that in the virtual world. That bond only happens in the real world.
Exactly. That's why meeting people and connecting with people and having brief conversations with people is very important and vital to growth.
Yes. So I guess we'll wrap it up now, guys. Another awesome conversation. I don't know. Anybody else got anything awesome to add to this?
I just want to say, Ray, don't doubt yourself. Get through that growing phase, because there's going to be headaches and bumps that you'll run into. But as long as you know what you want and you're determined, you will succeed.
Yes.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
I will say too, business can be a marathon of misery sometimes, but just work through it, man. That's how it is. It's like you come up with challenges and yeah, it might not work out how you originally intended, but if you see growth and you're not compromising your ability to exist in society by either going into huge debt, or you're just like sacrificing your health to make this thing happen, just keep at it. And eventually, people will find out, you'll build that audience, and then you'll do the hardest thing in the world, which is get that audience to support you financially. And
thank you for allowing me to be on here. And thank you, Kenny Duncan, for being an inspiration.
No problem. Appreciate you sharing those kind of words, man. If anything I can challenge you guys to it is don't focus on trying to live off of a reputation. Focus on living up to your reputation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Don't ever have a disconnect, right? Because that is like a classic corporation thing to do, right? Where they've got this fancy advertising that like, hey, this is amazing experience. But then you walk in and you're just like, oh, this is exactly the same. It's completely mediocre, right? Make sure that reputation and that experience people talk about, every time you do your job, you uphold that obligation to providing high quality service. And that's when you can say, I'm legitimate.
That's it.
Okay, dudes. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, that was awesome again. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. And have yourselves an awesome Wednesday afternoon.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Peace, everybody. Thanks. Bye.
Okay.